Hello and welcome to the second round of the F3 Masters Europe of the KCG Racing League here at the beautiful Hockenheim ring in Germany, in the south of Germany actually. And yeah, maybe a familiar voice at the microphone here. Maybe not if you haven't watched Race Room in the last 5 years. Unfortunately, Lino had his wisdom teeth removed and now he looks a bit like a hamster, and as you all know, hamsters can't really talk that much. So we needed someone else to fill in, and that's me, Robert Wiesenmüller, today here at Hockenheim. And I hope, Lino, you're here with us as well for some expert insight.
Yeah, I'm really like a hamster, like not as much, but still. But yeah, Robert is jumping in today for me as I won't be able to talk like 1.5 hours straight. So this time you'll hear a much more beautiful voice and we'll have fun.
Thanks for the compliments, and now let's talk about this beautiful track. Everyone who raced in Race Room Ranked knows that I'm a big fan of this track. Located in the south of Germany, in Baden-Württemberg, very close to Mannheim actually, it's the Hockenheim ring. It has been rebuilt a little bit in the early 2000s, has been a very long circuit in the past, driving through the forest. But then Hermann Tilke came and they shortened it quite a bit. Still a pretty good layout for overtaking, and I think it will be a spectacular round here with the Formula 3 machinery on Race Room, of course. 2 times 13 laps are coming up today. Qualifying is already on. 30-minute session, so plenty of time for the drivers to set a lap time. Then afterwards we'll have a standing start and a 13-lap race. And after the race there will be just another one. Finishing order of the first race determines the grid of the second one, so should be really exciting. We have a small but very, very fast grid here. And we're on board with Marvin Mackenberg at the moment, driving for Virtual Drivers by TX3. They've just won an esports championship with Christopher Högfeld in the GT Masters. Marvin Mackenberg, one of their talents. Not the only Mackenberg on the grid, his twin brother Sven also there. There we can see him. Number 1 at the moment, so probably the fastest in practice. And those two are amongst the favorites, I would say, for this round. We've got a very interesting championship situation coming into this round. There's a situation, a tie for the lead of the championship between Marvin Mackenberg and Yuval Rosen, who unfortunately can't be with us today though. So Marvin Mackenberg in the prime position to claim the championship lead on his own, but there's a lot of competition. There we see Boldisha, Vershegi Notch, we see Radoslav Kwiatkowski, all very close in the points as well. Perhaps Marcel Löcken can set a surprise here at his home track. Sven Mackenberg, first one with the time. That's a 34.5, I think. And if I'm not mistaken, that is really, really, really quick. That is way faster than the fastest leaderboard times. Yes, indeed, Marvin Mackenberg was the fastest one on the leaderboard from all the drivers here signed up for this championship. 35.0. So Sven already half a second faster than the leaderboard times, just shows what he's capable of here. And there's not much you can do with the car because it's a fixed setup championship. Just looking a bit through the field, there we've got the man with the complicated name, Boldisha Vershegi Notch, I think. I hope. Don't get angry with me, please, after this event. Hungarians, of course. There's always an Hungarian in any race from race, we all know it. Plenty of esports winners like Gergo Baldi, like Anand Pinces. And Boldisha is actually one of the most experienced drivers in the KCG Racing League, Lino.
Wrong button. Indeed he is. I just checked before the race. We've got 3 drivers who competed in every single KCG season, in all 4 basically, as one was a mini season. But Marvin Mackenberg, Boldisha Vershegi Notch, and it was Rosen, all of them competed in all 4 seasons. So in season 1 with the GT3s, season 2 with the GT4s, and the mini season 1 with as well GT3s and also with the F3 cars now. So still cool to see them around. We've also seen obviously Frank van Roon, who still competed in all of them, but who sadly decided to not continue racing in this season because he just couldn't get along with the car and stuff, so kind of sad to see him go, but it's alright. I think in the end it's his decision to do, and I hope we will see him back for the next season. And
these cars are quite a handful to drive. There's been a physics revision from Alex Hodgkinson in the last year, which made them a lot more drivable than they were before, but they're still open wheelers. And when you're coming from touring cars like TCR machinery or GT cars, GT3 of course very popular, then the switch to an open wheeler, which is much more dependent on downforce of course, which has very little mechanical grip, it's a big difference in terms of driving style, especially if you're used to kind of sliding the car into the corners and now you have to do it all at the front. It's quite a challenge. And it's showing here, the gaps at the moment kinda big. Sven Mackenberg even improved his time. Now we can see Henrik Andreasen, who just signed up for this race here. It's his first start in the season.
Yeah, as well as we've seen in the Imola races, some people just struggle with getting out of the corner, getting the weight to shift to the rear axle and having the grip to get on the accelerator early. We've seen Sven spinning out a couple of times, so we'll see Henrik Andreasen having a big slide in the Mercedes arena. And yeah, also obviously Frank von Ronen having struggles getting out of corners. We've seen basically slides and spins all over the field, no matter the skill level of the drivers. So let's see how this pans out here. I think it could be a bit more easy than on Imola. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think that the track itself is a lot easier than Imola. Oh, that was a bit of the curve that he took there, but I actually saw that it was a while ago. I was looking at the YouTube stream and not on the live picture. He's already across the line, of course. But yeah, compared to Imola, it is quite a bit easier to drive here. We've got a lot of high curbs at Imola, especially in the first chicane. They can really unsettle the car. And here at Hockenheim, the curves, with the exception of the one at the exit of the first corner, you can kind of avoid them or just clip them a little bit and it's fine. It won't unsettle the car as much. And also the track is very wide, has a lot of runoff area, so even if you make a mistake, it's not necessarily going to end your race. So I hope you can hear us here on YouTube. If you have a question, by the way, just type it in the chat. I will try my best to answer it. Or if you just want to enjoy the racing with these beautiful cars, maybe we can just go on board a little bit for one lap at Rokus here. Very nice sound from Anthony Montiel, of course. One of the true artists in the sim racing world. Ooh, and there you can see it, the car getting loose on power there. Rokus just escaping back to the pit lane. Just shows how tricky it can be. And he had plenty of space there, just a bit too early on the accelerator, or just a bit too much turn in perhaps as well. And off he went. Now we see the yellow cars here. Yellow cars, both from Poland. Radoslav Piatkowski, known as Feltat, of course, in the racing community. He's one of the beta testers and one of the moderators on the Discord. Sitting in P3 at the moment. That's a good position for him, I think. I think he will be happy with that. But the gap to Sven, it might worry him a little bit. But at least he is ahead of his championship rival, Boldishar, who's sitting 6 points ahead of him in the championship. Coming down now, Parabolica. And now the hairpin, which is called Spitzkehre in German. That's the official corner name, which just means hairpin translated. Nice apex, actually. Accelerating again. Next corner is flat out. There we can see the Mercedes Tribune coming up. And then a very hard left-hander. You have to be careful with the orange curb there on the inside. Can really unsettle your car, but he's quite far away from it. Now one of the corners where you can lose a lot of time if you get it wrong. Coming up to the Motodrome. Mobile 1 corner, the entry. Cut a bit here on the inside, it's all fine, you don't get a slowdown for it. Now up to the Sachskurve. A little bit of banking in this corner. So the inside line is not necessarily the best one. Usually it still is on race room. And now the Südkurve, the final corner complex here. Very difficult to drive, very difficult to find the right moment to get the power down and to find the apex of the second corner as well. Not running very wide on the exit, cross the line. That's a 35.2. So that should not... I'm not sure if it was an improvement actually. Everything showed up in green, but I'm not sure if he improved his time. But yes, he did. Oh, and Mateusz there, a little bit loose. Mateusz Friedrich, the second Polish driver in the field, also up to the same section, but you can see at the bottom that his time is not running, so he must have either invalidated his lap or had some sort of mistake. But this lap time is not counting for him. Sitting in P6, so we've got 8 drivers with times. Lino, do we have someone who hasn't set a time yet?
So far we have one driver who hasn't set a time yet, and it's Marcel Löcken, who's still sitting in the pits. I think Roxy also still is waiting for his real shot, as I think he's got plenty more space. Also Marcel Löcken now driving out of the pits. So still 18 minutes to go in qualifying. We increased qualifying times for this race to allow more people to join, as in some countries there's kind of a special day today. And yeah, maybe Will Carvalho will also join later on in the session. So yeah, but obviously for the other drivers this means we've got a lot more time left than usually, and they can do more risky ones and more risky strats and racing lines through the laps, as they have way more opportunities to do so.
Yes, and we've also seen that drivers are allowed to press escape to get back to the pit lane, so they also don't have to drive an out lap, and they can repair their car if they crash it. So we should see plenty of improvements. We've just seen Rokus DB actually jumping up to 4th position. Oh, Marcel! That's not how you warm up your tires. They are square now. You can basically get new ones. He's still continuing. Yeah, we've got Boldishar. Nice overview here. See all of the cars around the circuit. Piatkowski currently in the pit lane. Mateusz Friedrich coming up to finish his lap time, and this time it should count. On board with him now. Nice exit. Could be an improvement. But it's not. He could have jumped Andreasen with a good final sector, but he just didn't. And he's taking it very carefully on the exit of the first corner there as well. Understandably, because these cars are much lower than a GT3 car or a TCR car, so they bottom out much more easily, and that really unsettles the car. So we won't see these extreme lines in turn 1. But also this explains where he lost the time. Already over 4/10 down in the first sector, and it's not showing up as a purple sector. That would have been an overall best, but also not as a green sector, which would have meant personal best. Braking here at the Mercedes Tribune. Always a little bit away from the apex there, but that's not necessarily bad, because there's a little bump in the road, I would say. So sometimes it's better to run a bit wide here. He still lost a bit of time in the second sector. I'm not sure if that's going to be an improvement, because the final sector is very technical. Lots of commitment here, so that's looking pretty good, but yeah, the sectors from Mackenberg should be really, really fast. And I think he will probably lose more than 3/10 here. And I think, yeah, he can just afford to lose 1/10 compared to Mackenberg if he wants to beat the time of Boldishar Veseginoc. Across the line. Yes, and that's not an improvement. It's a 36 again. That's Rokus DB. That's the blue car with the black nose. Just coming out of the pit lane. He's driving for the Absolute Motorsport Racing team, a well-known team in the racing community. They've got plenty of drivers, like I would guess about 60 drivers or something like that. They've got a very, very big lineup, run by Marcelo Caserta. And it's good to see them represented here in this championship as well. Virtual drivers are also represented with Sven Mackenberg and Marvin. And I think Ballas Racing team is not here today because Frank van Roon is missing the round, but usually they are the third team, which has a lot of drivers on race room. That's Marvin, leader in the championship, previous winner at Hockenheim in the KCG Racing League. He's the twin brother of Sven Mackenberg, and the fun fact, they actually went to school with Race from Esports champion Alex Dorneden. They went to the same class, but started sim racing completely unrelated. So that's an interesting fact there. Alex Dorneden, of course, winner of the very first esports WTCC season in 2017 and also winner of the first season of the Cupra Sim Racing Series. He's not competing here today, but both Mackenbergs are, and they are looking in control at the moment.
As you mentioned just before, the esport teams is something I find to be very interesting indeed. Meanwhile, Rui Carvalho found his way onto the grid. Also still has more than 10 minutes to go, so probably is able to set a lap time. But we've actually seen a lot of esportlers join KCG. One of the other big names, for example, is Ilya Dovozikov, who just jumped in Season 1 and dominated this whole series, winning 4 races in a row and obviously clinching the title. A lot of stories in that matter we had at our championship here, which is kind of incredible, as KCG, even though we have a pretty high quality grid, I'd say, it's still quite small. So it doesn't compete with the likes of Tugas and stuff, but still we've got some big names on the grid.
Yeah, and I think you can still sign up for the championship if you want to. There's a possibility to do a guest start, so if you're curious, if you maybe want to join, then that should be possible.
Just click the first link in the description. Can join. You can easily join on race day as well, as mentioned previously. Henrik Andersen also signed up today. If you don't want to sign up for a season, we aren't that strict on seasons, so even if you sign up for a season, you don't have to attend all races. But you can also just sign up as a guest starter for 1 race, for 2 races. So if you don't want to commit to the championship but still drive with those drivers, you can easily do that just by signing up as a guest starter.
And I've done this before in the mini season in the GT3. It's very fun. Oh, Marvin Mackenberg, they're losing it out of the final corner. It would have been a very good attempt. It would have gone very, very close to Sven. But it was not quite enough. Just pushed a little bit too hard, but it shows, you know, these two, they are really going for it. I think we've seen most of the drivers already in the picture, but not Florian Arendt. Let's see if we can find him. There he is. In the flamey car. Looks like a shirt from Guy Fieri, if you know who that is. Florian Arendt, better known as Floftov in the racing community. He's gotten YouTube famous recently. He's been spotted in the Pete's Meat video on Wreckfest, dominating the field there. Still pretty new to sim racing though. He's more, you know, he's a versatile racer, but he's more experienced on games like Forza. So doing a decent job here, ahead of Marcel Löcken still at the moment, and Carvalho, of course, who hasn't set a lap time yet. Driving for the Krystall Performance Racing team. That's a team Lino knows pretty well.
I keep pressing the wrong buttons. Yeah, I think it's not hard to notice that it's the same racing team I'm racing for as it's my racing team. So, Florian, very close friend of mine. And he really made some big progress in the recent weeks or month, let's say. So yeah, pretty happy for him to be around here and race with them. Obviously, Matthäus Friedrich, Florian Arendt and Marcel Löcken having that great fight at Imola 1 week ago. Multiple races. Let's see if this can repeat. So far it looks like they are still in a close range to each other at least. So they can be close together. Meanwhile, we also see obviously the Mackenbergs being in front again. But also Feldhardt being in third and Rokus being super close behind in fourth.
Yeah, I think this could be a very interesting fight. And I wonder if Boldisha Verseshki, I'm really sorry, man. Your name is so hard to pronounce. Let's just call you Boldisha from now on. I think he won't be happy with that, because he's in P6 right now in the race, but he's third in the championship. And with Yuval missing the race, he really has an opportunity to gain a little bit in the championship, but not with such a qualifying. So he really needs to find something here in the last minutes. Unless he wants to have a really difficult race there, and especially with Andreasen, the new driver, who signed up here, just beating him in his first attempt. That's going to be tough. We can see Florian in the final sector. Does not seem to be on an improvement. First sector was pretty decent. laps across the line, and no, he's still in P8. And we can see a bit more commitment, but also how the car was lifting off over the curb, and he immediately jumps back to the pit lane. Escapes here. Focus to be going for one more attempt, driving out of the pit lane on his outlap now.
Yeah, obviously the magic in the first turn is also to not get an off track while still maximizing the exit, as it's quite kind of tricky in Race Room. I think in other sims it's solved a bit better, let's say, as the exit curb of turn 1 is, it like cuts back very hard at some point, and you just have to get on edge with the track limits there to really get a lot of exit speed. But obviously if you go too far, you will lose your lap time and you have to start all over again. And especially at the beginning of the lap, this can be a big part of the lap itself.
When we were driving the leaderboard competitions in Hockenheim, it was kind of like start simulator, because you basically drive the first corner, then you press escape, then you start again. You can even map a hotkey to restart your hot lap on the leaderboard. It's very fun. But yeah, if you want to get into, you know, a time attack competition, or, you know, the last thing I drove was the DTM qualifier there, you basically just do this first corner over and over again, because you so often drive into the track limits, it gets really frustrating. The rest of the track is really nice, but there's just a, you know, one of these track limit topics. And what can you do? The track is built like this in real life. There are also the discussions. It's you will never make everyone happy. Also, Rui Carvalho, he doesn't look too happy with his car. Sitting in P10, quite a far way down, 7 seconds off the pace at the moment, and he was blocking. He was blocking the green one a little bit there. Who's the green one again, Lino?
Sven Mackenberg.
Oh, but he's already on pole, so he will be able to look past it.
Yeah, also not on a hot lap, it seems like. But yeah, Rui Carvalho last race also a bit off pace, but it's just like him getting used to the car after time, and he didn't go into the race with the confidence of being in front. He just wants to get used to the car to maybe progress during the season, which is completely fine. Rui Carvalho is someone who is also, I think, or I believe, he's quite car dependent, as we've seen great performances by him in the GT4 season in the Lotus. I always remember the great battles he had with Bolizar and I think Pavel was. Especially with Pavel, those two in the Lotus. Also he at the Hockenheim ring pulled off some great moves. Also some, let's say, hot-headed, but still great moves. But yeah, let's see how this develops during the season. But cool to see him back for yet another season. And that's also one thing we really put emphasis on in KCG, to allow basically everyone to join.
Yeah, so don't be afraid, just load up your race room. It's free, of course, to download. Then you have to buy the F3 car, but it's pretty cheap. And try it out. And hi to Frank in the chat. Nice to see you in the chat.
And it's no problem. Everyone should feel comfortable, I think, in the end. And you know, if open wheelers are just not your thing, it's like everyone has their cars that are just not their thing. But just good that you still gave it a try, just like with the GT4s. So hope to see you back in season 4 or mini season 2, let's say. I don't know which one will be the next one and when it will be, but I'm pretty sure some guys might really like it, and they have been anticipating it. Or the cars.
Meanwhile, we just saw Sven also struggling there with the cars on the acceleration, spinning out at the corner at the Mercedes Tribune. But he's still in first place, of course, and with only 4.5 minutes to go, that looks like it will be probably the pole position. Focus to be here, vice champion in season 2 with the GT4s. Won at the Norris Ring. Very special track. And who knows what the next season will be? I mean, we've seen the WTCR cars getting released on Race Room recently. So we maybe see the WTCR cars in KCG?
Maybe.
Who knows? Time will tell. And time will tell also if Rokus DB can improve his lap time here. Looking good. 2 green sectors. Is it enough to beat Feldhard? Out of the last corner, across the line, and yes it is. Up to P3 for Rokus DB. Nice job. Ooh! What was that? That car was missing a wheel. And that was Radoslav Kwiatkowski. I think he really tried everything. But maybe it was a bit too much.
Maybe he just found out that there was a burning giraffe behind the barrier.
But if he wants to improve his time, he needs to drive out now. What is he waiting for? If the timer hits 0, the session is over. And he could just make one more attempt, but it doesn't seem like he's going for it. He's just waiting in the pit lane now. So it seems like he's not going to improve. So it's up to perhaps Andreasen if he can jump Rokus DB. But otherwise, Rokus DB is safe in P3. Florian Arendt still out on the lap. Only driver from Austria on the grid. Austria, of course, also has a very nice racing track with the Red Bull Ring and also the Salzburg Ring, which is, I think, pretty much exclusive on Race Room. Haven't seen it anywhere else, at least not as standard content. Attacking the curb very hard, but this lap time doesn't count anyway. We have seen some movements here. He's gone up to P7 ahead of Friedrich and Löcken, who improved as well throughout the session. Rui Carvalho also improved his lap time massively, 3.7 seconds back, so he's getting there, he's getting much closer. That's in a region where, you know, where you can really, depending how the race goes, if they block each other a little bit, where you can make some progress perhaps in the race. So that's good to see that he's got the pace in him. Florian comes across the line, starts his final attempt, and he should just about be able to finish that one. Wide there, but it should be fine. He's back still with 2 wheels on the curve, so this lap should be legal there. Hard braking for the second corner. Entry parabolica. Many different lines here. A little bit of a wiggle on the power. Goes over the curb, but should be fine. Lost a bit of time in the first sector. Now through the parabolica. Very fast, of course. In some cars you can run all the way over the curb there on the left side. Down to the hairpin. Hard braking zone. No ABS on these cars, so difficult to get them stopped. Good exit, clean exit. Not sure if he's pushing to the ultimate limit. We will see at the second sector line, of course. Looked like a clean attempt so far. Now up to the Mercedes Tribune. Even uses a bit of curb. You can see it. Oh, he used a bit too much curb there on the exit. But it was nice to see that he's using all of the track. He's, you know, he's going even wider than some of the drivers who are ahead of him. I think he's got the right idea. Attacking very hard. Marvin Mackenberg across the line. Stays P2. No improvement for him. And we are getting very close to the end of the qualifying session. And I think if nothing changes, Sven should have the pole position here ahead of Marvin. And Rokus to be in third position. Still waiting for the confirmation of the results, but if I'm not mistaken, we have indeed Sven on pole, Marvin second, then Rokus DB, then Radoslav Kwiatkowski in fourth place, Hendrik Andreasen in fifth place on his first start in the championship, then Boldisha Vesegi Notch in sixth place ahead of Florian Arendt and Matthäus Friedrich, then Marcel Löcken and Carvalho rounding out the field in P10. No confirmation of the results coming, unfortunately, but we are in a warm-up session, so that's nice as well. See if the drivers will use this opportunity last 5 minutes before the race. Maybe get a drink. Maybe go to the toilet, perhaps. Or just do some laps to be ultimately ready for this race. Just a reminder, this is of course round 2 out of 6 in this championship. Spa is next week. Then we've got Hungaroring, Assen and Spielberg coming up. And we've got 2 races coming up here, 13 laps each, and the second race starting grid is determined by the finishing order of the first race. No points for qualifying have been given, but Lino, perhaps you have the championship standings once again.
Indeed I have. So for the championship standings, as pointed out before, Yuval Rosen and Marvin Mackenberg both in P1, but obviously Yuval Rosen sadly can't make it today. So an opportunity for Marvin Mackenberg to build up some ground in the championship. But we've also got Bolisa Veseginagi and Radoslav Kwiatkowski, who had decent performances in Imola, to make up ground as well. Both starting in the midfield. Radoslav Kwiatkowski in 4th, Nagy in 6th. And then we've got Sam Mackenberg, had a lot of unfortunate things happening at Imola, but he's also pretty determined to make up ground in the championship and also has a pretty good shot at doing so, as he will start this race from pole. And then Marcel Löcken, Friedrich, Arendt and Cavallo all having decent races in Imola and now looking for their shot to maybe get a bit higher in the grid through the finish line, also starting 7th, 8th and 9th.
A big welcome to Floftov and Marvin in the chat. Nice to see you there. And we've got a statement from Marvin about the qualifying. He's saying, such an annoying qualifying when you have to risk everything all the time. 1 or 2 tenths improvement, not worth anything. He's not happy despite starting in P2. But it counts only in the race, no points in qualifying. So still plenty of opportunity for him to beat his brother and to gain the championship lead. There we can see Mateusz Friedrich again. Driver from Poland. I think it says Midas Racing Team. Not sure if I read this correctly.
Yeah, it's correct. Maybe everything he touches will turn to gold. Maybe not.
Yeah, his car almost looks gold already. The lap time in the qualifying, it was not quite gold, but who knows what happens here. We've seen plenty of action at the Hockenheim ring, plenty of crashes as well, especially coming down to the hairpin in the first lap. And the good thing is, of course, in the KCG, all the drivers respect each other. We don't see a lot of penalties. We've got the stewarding system, of course, active here. You can send a report, but in the last round there was not a single penalty given. So that's a good sign. But of course, Hockenheim, based on my experience in the race room championships, that's one of the tracks where you rather see more incidents, because it's very wide, because everyone thinks they can make a dive into the hairpin. So let's see how it turns out here.
That's true. So far, we only had 1 warning given out and another racing incident. Obviously, this is also due to the size of the grid. But in general, we've seen pretty clean racing here and there. A warning, maybe a penalty point, but nothing too serious. The biggest thing we had was in Season 1 at Watkins Glen between Frank van Roon and Marvin Mackenberg, with 6 penalty points being issued to Marvin in that case because he missed the braking point and just straight up punted Frank van Roon off the track. Was a pretty big accident, but stuff like this just happens in racing, and I think everyone who has been around for for some time at least knows that those incidents can happen, but obviously you need some way to judge those things on a reliable basis. So not really automated, but still something, a guideline you can follow.
Yeah, and that's why we also have the rule set here, and why we've got a pretty high driving standard in the KCG Racing League. Well, we're about to get into the first race. Who's your winner pick?
I can't really decide. I think race 1 is going to go down between the Mackenbergs. Both seem to have quite a big gap on the other drivers during qualifying. But things can change pretty fast. So pretty hard picks. So for the second race, I think even when the drivers get more comfortable with the cars, it can change. That suddenly Rox CB or Henrik Andreasen could also just find a lot more pace or a lot more consistent pace for the lap. And so it's pretty hard. But I say first race is going down between the Mackenbergs in the end.
We will find out now. First of all, hello to Red Wolf in the chat. Nice to see you here as the cars are lining up for the first race. No formation lap, standing start, so we are about to go into the first race here at the Hockenheim ring. Lights are red. And the lights are out and we are racing. And that looks like a very good start from Marvin in the orange car there. Getting very close to Sven. Clean getaway, side by side there in the background. Rokus and Radoslav. Very clean start, no collisions yet. Sven not defending his line to the second corner, leaving the inside open. Pretty clean, bit of a curb there for Marvin. So far so good. Rokus DB maintained his third position. I think Boldisha is up one position, he's in P5 now. So it must have been Andreasen who lost out at the start. Yes, indeed, there he is in the red car. Number 9 for Tugas Racing. Side by side at the front. Side by side, I think, between the two Mackenbergs. No, it resolved itself. But there in the background, that's Florian Arendt trying around the outside of Boldisha. But to no avail yet. Matthäus Friedrich up to P7. Still side by side with Marcel Löcken. And Boldisha has got a nice run here up to P5, consolidating his position. As they're fighting a bit ahead of him and behind him. There's Hendrik Andreasen on the inside of Matthäus Friedrich. He's not getting through yet. Outside line now, trying for another cutback. Slightly runs into the back of Matthäus there. Gets the inside line now, coming up to the Motodrome. Oh, very close. And there we can see what I meant before. Carvalho, despite being a bit off, staying with him there very closely. Piatkowski now around the outside of Rokus DB up to P3. What a move by Radoslav. Had a perfect start for the two Mackenbergs because cars behind them are fighting with each other. Oh, and there's the first spinner, and that's Boldisha Veselkinoc. He's off the circuit in the final corner, drops down to 10th and last position, and that's a big blow for his championship hopes. He was in P3 in the standings. Rokus DB, meanwhile, full commitment through the first corner. He needs to get his podium place back. He's sitting on 0 points in the standings, and he's behind Radoslav Piatkowski now. But of course, we've got plenty of laps, 13 laps indeed, still 12 to go. Now we come down here through the Parabolica, big drafting. It's a corner, but it basically acts more like a straight, and you can see the draft effect. Rokus DB gets the inside line, late under braking. Ooh, he's going for it, he's going for it. Cuts a little bit across the grass, and that gives him a very bad exit there. Radoslav able to maintain his position, and we see the twin brother battle at the front. Sven in the green car, still in the lead, but Marvin putting all sorts of pressure onto him. There we see Rokus DB again, and Lino, now that it's settled down a little bit, the perfect start for the Mackenbergs, right?
So far it definitely seems like that. They could build up a gap to Feldhard and Rokus DB. So they lead quite comfortably at the moment. It can change during the race, obviously, as tires wear down and obviously tire temperatures and fix setup. But so far it looks good. Now they just need to keep it together and not hit each other. I doubt that this will be a case, but we'll never know. These two seem to race each other. Not as hard as you would probably do with some strangers in ranked, but still quite hard, and they both really know what they are doing. So, a lot of opportunity.
That's a very good scenario for them. Meanwhile, Florian Arendt, that must be one of his best races that he had so far, sitting in P5. Solid, and I've seen his lines in the qualifying. They look really good. I think he's not there, he's not reached his full potential yet. It's definitely promising. Let's see if he can stay with Rokus DB, because then it could get very interesting towards the end. Because I would assume that Rokus is a little bit faster than Radoslav throughout the race, so perhaps they will start to fight again. We have seen Rui Carvalho dropping back to P10 again, getting passed again by Boldisha. So I guess Rui must have made a mistake here at some point, as they're both a little bit off the field. Back at the battle for P3, and Rokus DB is indeed catching Piatkowski. You can see the gap there at the bottom of your screen. Coming closer, entry motodrome. Nice line, not so much curb. Enters the Sachs curve a bit more from the outside. Gets a good run here, very clean run. Bit of curb on the inside, and now this very difficult corner. Actually, he chooses to not really attack the curb on the inside there. And there we can see Rui Carvalho a little bit at the back of the field, but his car still looks... does it look 100%?
To have had an incident, at least it showed. But we will see if he goes into the pits in a second, I guess. And now Rokus really close to fade out. Back to you.
Yes, and now with the slipstream effect, it should be possible for him to make a move. Felt that they are trying to break the slipstream, but Rokus is still in the slipstream here massively, and he gets the inside once again. And if he gets his braking right, he should be able to seal the position here. But later on the brakes, does he avoid the grass this time? Yes, he does. Much better this time, but a great run around the outside from Radoslav Piatkowski. He maintains a lot more exit speed there, and he actually keeps his position. And one more corner to defend. Does he go to the inside? Ooh, he's not really going for the inside. Another attempt there at the front. Rokus is through, but the cutback once again from Radoslav, and the cutback is good once again. Stays in third position. And of course, all of this is helping Florian Arendt. All of this is helping Marcel Löcken as well, who's right behind them, who's catching up as well. And there you can see Florian Arendt. Spoke about it before. If they start fighting ahead of him, he will get much, much closer to them. He's in a prime position. He's basically in the spectator seat now, just watching there what these two are doing. And if one of them makes a mistake, he's through. Oh, but he makes the mistake. He runs wide. It should be a slowdown penalty. Maybe the opportunity for Marcel Löcken. Looks like Rokus is the one who's pushing super hard at the moment. Not going for it on the inside of turn 2. It's almost like a DRS race because the slipstream effect is so big. It doesn't make sense to pass on certain corners because you know the other driver can get you back. Back to the leaders. Marvin now right in the slipstream of Sven. Also getting the inside line here. Where does he brake? Sven is running deep into the corner. That should be the position for Marvin, but Sven has a much better run. Rokus, meanwhile, in the background, doing the same thing. Also going for the move, and this time it worked. Oh, and Florian there, too early on the power. Spinning a little bit to the inside, just catching it in time. Sven trying to get his position back. Oh, very close there. The wheels almost touch. But looks like Marvin has the position for now. Another cut back from Sven. Doesn't quite get the run here. Great racing so far. Really fantastic racing. And Rokus DB is finally through. Radoslav is still right behind him. Looking at the diffuser. Right behind the rear wing. And then it's Marcel Löcken. We spoke about Florian Arendt perhaps getting the opportunity. Maybe it's the little bit more experienced Marcel Löcken who might benefit from this battle. Theo Schwidrick also has gained the position. Florian still sitting in P7, so nothing's lost yet. Very wide there from Marcel. It's surely a slowdown. He didn't get a slowdown, right? I didn't see the message, so perhaps he got away with it. Perhaps he found the line, and now he's got a very good run. But the slipstream effect could work against him. At the front, meanwhile, Sven trying to do the same what Marvin did to him one lap earlier. This time he's on the inside, turns in earlier, gets the run, gets the position. Nice job. Oh, Marcel! Braking on the grass, going straight onwards. He's lucky that he hasn't hit anyone there, but he's lost a lot of ground. I think he will come out. Yeah, there he is, just ahead of Boldisha. And the leaders side by side again. What a race it is. Marvin at the front, Sven in P2 in the green car. But it's almost like you pass someone and then you just can't drive away. You have to defend every lap. These two, of course, are clear of the third place Rokus DB. But I don't really see how Marvin could gap Sven in this scenario. I think they will just continue fighting. On board now with Sven. Starting another lap. 7 laps to go. And it's interesting, he almost doesn't want to be in the slipstream. He's kind of starting out to the right side, maybe looking where the braking mark is. But also he doesn't want to be too close here, because then he can't get this, you know, the slingshot on the straight. It's better if you are a little bit further back, because then you get more of a slipstream. You have a higher speed at the end of the straight. Marvin defends the inside, Sven only gets the outside. Can still work with the cutback. He's late on the braking. Ooh, they will be side by side here now, and I think now Sven has got the better line for the next corner. And he might even be through before that. Ooh, very close, giving each other room. But Marvin has the outside now. Yeah, and this was clean by Sven. Very nice exit. Sven Mackenberg, our pole sitter, back in the lead. Florian Arendt, meanwhile, he has found the space again. Now at the back of Henrik Andreasen, the new driver, who's done a very respectable job so far. Coming into this grid here of drivers who've got plenty of experience in KCG, in ranked. We've done lots of races, and he's fighting there in the top 6, hasn't made a mistake yet. You can see his results in the previous races in the other categories in the KCG, but of course these were in GT cars, which are slightly different. You see a little bit of dust there in the final corner, but everyone's still going. And back now with Radoslav Piatkowski, or Feltert as he's known in the racing community. But you can see Rokus, I think Rokus is a bit faster, and that's a healthy gap already. There will still be some slipstream effect. But he's in this range where he can almost drive away. This time probably not. I think at the end of the straight, Radoslav will have caught him again. It's looking good for him. And there we go, Radoslav is close, but he's not close enough to make an overtaking attempt. And I think Marcel has been passed by Boldishar. Yes, indeed. Marcel looking down to P9, going from bad to worse in this race. But of course, there's a second race coming up afterwards. But, you know, the finishing position of this race determines your starting position in the second race, so you will still have to make up a lot of ground there. And Radoslav Piatkowski now all the way on the back of Rokus DB. Final sector, probably the sector where it's the hardest to overtake. But Rokus, maybe he overheated his tires a bit, because he's starting to slide a bit more. Yeah, once again, correction on the exit, it's fast. Oh, but he's too fast here. He's too fast there. Takes a lot of gravel on the exit. Has very dirty tires now, and that's P3 for Radoslav Piatkowski, and that's the anti-cut as well. Ooh, did his suspension survive that? That was a hard hit. Still seems to be good though. And now Radoslav Piatkowski back on the podium, but he has to defend here down this parabolica if he wants to maintain his position. Radoslav is not covering the inside, but Rokus is not quite close enough to make a move. Late under braking, has to take a wide line there a bit. But yeah, it's looking good. So Lino, what do you think? Who's going to come out on top here?
Well, currently, meanwhile, Rokus just looking on the inside. Currently, Sven Mackenberg has a decent lead over Marvin Mackenberg. 1.3 seconds. It should be out of range for slipstream. But we also still got 4 laps to go after this one. So, still much that can happen, but so far I'd say it could be Sven for this race.
Alright. Yeah, indeed, the battle at the front looks a little bit more decided than before. I think the most exciting battle is this one here. Piatkowski versus the B, who's behind him. And Mateusz Friedrich has done a very good race here.
Yeah,
Gained some
also,
places, benefited from the mistakes, but he's looking very strong from his pace.
also currently closing in on the cars in front. Meanwhile, Rocco's again running right. So
And
just,
these slowdowns can really stack up in this corner.
yeah, this as well, but maybe also the slipstream, which really gives you understeer through fast corners in those cars. Just not used to it currently.
That still seems like Rokus is very close to Radoslav there. Yeah, swerving a bit on the straight, trying to break the slipstream. But there, Rokus is definitely close enough to try a move. Goes for the inside line. Late on the brakes. Ooh. Ooh. Ui. That was almost... Oh, no! And he's spinning off there. He was on the anti-cut on the exit. And that unsettled him. Overshot the corner a bit. On the anti-cut and now down to P6. And it could be even worse. That's Florian Arendt trying to go on the inside at the Mercedes Tribune. Bit of contact there. Rokus going wide. I think Florian is not taking the position because he felt like it was a bit over the top. Ooh, Rokus won't be happy, but I think it was his own mistake there, coming out of the corner. It was very close with him and Radoslav, but then he put the power on while he was on the anti-cut, and he lost a lot of positions. Sitting on 0 points, of course, in the championship, and he will gain a few. If he finishes in P6, he will actually gain 8 points, so that's pretty good, but it could have been 15 points for third. And now that doesn't look very likely. Florian now also looking faster than Rokus, so perhaps Rokus indeed got some damage at some point. Remember, he also hit the anti-cut in turn 1. Because now Florian is putting him under all sorts of pressure. You can see him there in the rear view mirrors there on the side. Florian is very close, gets the inside line. Late on the braking. Good attempt, but good cut back. Oh, bit of contact there on the exit. And now Rokus has a bit of a better run. I think Florian won't be able to attack again, perhaps on the next lap, but he has to close this gap before. Yeah, and through all of this, Mateusz Friedrich, all of a sudden, sitting in P4. And perhaps even a podium is possible, because he's been very good on his tires. He hasn't been really involved in these hard fights. Piatkowski has been. So I think it's possible that he might attack his countryman on the last laps of this race. It looks very clean how he's driving. Not a lot of movement in the car. And then Henrik Andreasen behind him. Our season rookie. Maybe not quite close enough yet, but Lino, what do you think? Who's going to come out on P3 here?
It's gonna be pretty close. I think Feldhardt has more pace, but I think Friedrich might have the better car at the moment. And also maybe had more time to get into a flow or into a rhythm to drive the track, as when you are defending, it's, even though you can be in a rhythm to drive, it's still something different if you just can drive consistently, not worrying about anything. But now Friedrich is in a pretty good position for the last 2 laps to just use the slipstream.
Yeah.
Now a bit of rear slip out of the corner, but still.
Yeah, I think he just turned in a little bit too early for this corner, and he clipped the grass on the inside, and he came too close on the apex to Radoslav. That really killed his run. But when you look now, a bit of a movement here, but he is able to catch up a little bit again. Now, of course, he lost it again with this little wiggle there, but it's not looking so bad. Perhaps we can see an exciting battle just at the end.
Yeah, we can also see Mackenberg is a bit faster again than Sven Mackenberg, 2/10 last lap. Let's see what will be this lap. But yeah, probably won't be enough. Both driving nearly exact lap times. Sven driving a 35.069 and Marvin driving a 35.001. So half 100 apart from each other.
So just that I'm sure that I read it correctly, this is the last lap,
This
correct?
is the last lap. One more.
So now it matters. And Mateusz is really close to Radoslav here. He will be in the slipstream, he will have a chance at the end of the straight. But he has to be brave for it. It won't be a big opportunity, because he still has to catch up. Plenty of room here. But he will have a great run at the end, and let's see if he gets the inside. Radoslav is not defending. Mateusz goes on the inside, breaks late. Oh, he might make this work. Radoslav going for the run. Mateusz, bit of wheel spin there on the exit, still side by side on the exit. Mateusz on the inside in the brighter car with more black. Radoslav now has the outside line, but that will turn to the inside for the next corner. Still side by side, great battle. Mateusz late on the braking. Radoslav also going for it, almost contact, and Mateusz has it. Mateusz goes past him. Let's see if Radoslav can find another cutback. Goes for the inside. Mateusz goes wide, still side by side, still exactly alongside each other. Inside line for Radoslav now. Oh, and I think he's about to take the position. Nice move there. Can Mateusz do anything about it? No, he has to go the long way around the outside. Fantastic battle there between the two. And it should be the position. And we should see Sven also crossing the line out to win the race. There he is. Congratulations, Sven Mackenberg winning the race ahead of his brother Marvin. And it's Kwiatkowski in P3. He managed to make it work. He managed to hold off Mateusz Friedrich at the end. But a great battle there for P3. Henrik Andreasen, P5 on his debut in the F3. Coming across the line ahead of Rokus DB, who will be unhappy with himself after this mistake, finishing in P6, but still the first points of the season for him.
Yeah, great performance by Friedrich, I want to say real quick, because he really just waited until he had the opportunity and then he really made it count when it needed to. Just the exit out of Mercedes Arena being a bit too wide, so Radoslav could cut back. So what a performance by these two.
Yeah, great race here. Florian Arendt P7. Then we've got Boldishar Notch in P8 after an early mistake. Marcel Löcken, well, there was the chance for more, that's for sure. Finishing in P9, and Rui Carvalho rounding out the field in P10. Statement from Marvin Mackenberg in the chat, what a race. And what a race it was indeed. Plenty of battles at the front, battle for P3. We've seen some mistakes, we've seen very fair racing, but still a bit of contact as well. It was exciting to watch, and we've got one more race coming up. Just after this one, another 13 laps, so make sure to stay on board here. Fastest lap goes to Marvin Mackenberg, but Sven Mackenberg, his twin brother, wins the race in the Virtual Drivers 1-2. And the beautiful named team Burning Giraffe, Radoslav Kwiatkowski, in P3. So Lino, what a race it was. Do you think we will see the same in the second race?
I think we can really much see the same in the second race. So especially when drivers learn each other, especially in the case of Henrik and Rokus, they now may know the other drivers better or got used to the way we race at KCG, and just getting thrown out here for a second, as this is normal. And it says wrong password for some reason. Why? I don't know.
I think we have to wait until it skips into the warm-up, until we can rejoin.
This could be... I'm just... No.
Or maybe we have the caps lock. Who knows?
Just getting banned from our own server. Deactivating caps really helps. But yeah, no. Second race, second time we will see those stuff happening, I think, I hope. Yeah, especially if you think about those were only 10 cars on track and we still had coverage for the whole race. Pretty cool race, I think.
Yeah, and if you really liked what you saw here in the race, make sure to sign up for the next one exactly in 1 week at Spa-Francorchamps. So if Hockenheim was good, how good is Spa going to be?
That's true.
And Hockenheim's not even over yet. We're in the warm-up for the second race. Just over 3 minutes to go. We've seen a bit of discussion before the season about the race order for the second race. Now you decided to put the race order as a finishing order of the first race, or the start order, I should say. And we've seen plenty of reverse grids in the past in different championships. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, the thing is, obviously reverse grids are quite cool for stuff like touring car races with 30 cars, because it makes, for example, P10 much more valuable. But obviously new because KCG had a big break, that we won't have that many drivers in the end for the season now, and therefore basically reverse top 10 now for the first 2 race days. It would mean the grid basically gets turned upside down completely. But you also have to see if there was an 11th driver, this would be like a big disadvantage for this race.
Yeah.
As well as in Formula cars, I mean, it was planned for those to be 1 sprint race with 1 pit stop for refueling. But in the end, those are made for sprints, and that's why I chose to do 2 races instead and just let the second race continue on the first one. And in Imola I was pretty happy because even though drivers started 8th and 9th on the grid, they still wanted up to be like 5th and 6th, I guess. So yeah, this doesn't mean that one is stuck now in this very position. And that's what was really important for me.
And I think we've seen how easy it still is to overtake, especially on a track like Hockenheim. So even if you are, let's say, Marcel Löcken, who has to start from the last row now in this race, I think it's still possible for him to get into like top 4, top 5 position.
Yeah, definitely. Everything is still open for them. Yeah.
I always found it interesting to be, you know, in the warm-up session after a race, you're coming up to the next one. I was never really sure what to do when I was the driver in these warm-up sessions, if I should practice qualifying or if I should just wait and try to focus. We've seen different attempts here. Sven set a lap time, Hendrik Andreasen as well, but these are the only 2 drivers who did. So I think we're getting an update for the point standings.
Doing my best. But actually we've got a very fun situation which we will see in just a second. Because we got yet another tie.
Oh.
So, yeah. Those switched places.
It's interesting, of course, for the championship. I think Yuval Rosen, he will, you know, look at this with a tear in his eye, thinking, what would have been possible here? He was very fast on the leaderboard, and now Marvin Mackenberg, his main rival, got a very good result with P2. But still a long season, plenty of stuff can happen in the remaining races. And plenty of stuff can still happen in the second race here, as we are about to jump into the race session.
Yes. So we still got 1 minute to go until we can see those cars race again.
Those drivers, of course, already on the grid. There we can see them. Lights are already red. Had a long red phase first time. See how long it is this time. Sven Mackenberg on pole in green. And the lights are out and we are racing. Looks like a clean getaway once again from everyone. Decent start from Radoslav Kwiatkowski. Mateusz Friedrich losing a little bit of ground there at the start. But Sven Mackenberg at the front. Oh, there's the spin. That's Boldisha. He's around. He didn't hit anyone, I think. But he's once again at the back of the field. Oh, and Sven also made a mistake. They're side by side already on the first lap.
Yet something else. Wokus also having some issues.
Oh, he also dropped back there, yes. So 2 drivers already at the back, and they're fighting here. 3 wide at the front. Radoslav Kwiatkowski going for the inside and the yellow car. He's backing out though. Marvin on the outside was late under braking. I think Sven should be able to maintain the lead. Side by side in the background. No, it's Marvin with a better run. Coming from the outside. And Radoslav perhaps can even gain the second place here. Perhaps he can go through because he has the inside here at the Mercedes Tribune. Let's see how late he is under braking. No, Sven Mackenberg there braking later, keeping his position. As Henrik Andreasen putting Mateusz Friedrich onto under pressure. As ahead of him, Radoslav Kwiatkowski is really trying to make up some ground early on in the race. To be hit some trouble early on in the race, so did Carvalho, and of course Sergi Noj, who's all the way down to P10 once again. And as we said before, Marcel Löcken starting in the last row, but there's still a lot more possible, and that's how fast it can go. Coming across the line to finish the first lap, that's Mateusz Friedrich. Ooh, his car's moving a lot over the curb there on the exit of the first corner. Looking back now from Marvin Mackenberg. As Kwiatkowski makes a mistake there, I think that allows Friedrich back into the fight for P3. And we have a similar situation like in the first race. He's warming up his tires there a little bit. Maybe he felt like this was the reason for his small error there in the second corner. And now the cars will go side by side again, coming up to the hairpin. Sven Mackenberg on the inside, Marvin on the outside. And Mateusz Friedrich also tries to take the third position, but the cutback works there very well at the background. Sven Mackenberg stays in the lead of the race, and Henrik Andreasen now in P5 also in a good position to gain some positions. Don't see so many moves here at the Mercedes Tribune, but there's a mistake from Mateusz. Loses the place to Henrik Andreasen and Florian Arendt right behind him. Maybe he has a chance as well to move up 1 place. He's wide again. That could be an opportunity. He goes over the curve. That slows down the car a little bit. Now, of course, on the outside of the Sachs curve, it's not really easy to overtake. The banking helps a bit, but it's not good enough there. Florian Arendt staying in 6th position, and Marcel Löcken is right behind him now as well. Ooh, a bit wide. Still looking good. Oldisha, meanwhile, has gone past Rui Carvalho, so he's moved up 1 place. But still, it's the same situation like in the first race. He has to make up a lot of lost ground early on. Maybe it helps him that these are still fighting ahead of him, and that Rokus also had a mistake early on. On board now with Marcel Löcken. Florian Arendt also has a draft ahead of him, but Marcel is still gaining on him. Gets the inside here. Who's more brave under braking? Oh, the Mackenberg side by side as well at the front. Sven keeping the lead. I think this could get spicy later on. So Lino, bit more action this time at the start of the race.
Yeah, also it seems like Florian Arendt has made a mistake. At least something light up and he's lost the position to...
Yeah, I think
Marcel
both
Löcken also.
Yeah, maybe they had a bit of contact because Rokus got both of them.
That could very well be. But yeah, what an opening phase yet again. Now we see... Oh, this looks like a lot of suspension damage. Just like crabbing.
Yeah, his wheel is not looking straight anymore. I think he has to go for the pits now. Something must have happened to Carvalho as well, because he's way down the order. Leaders are still going.
I think the action continues. So
yeah,
now...
and I find it respectable how close Kwiatkowski is staying with the leaders. He made this mistake early on, where he lost a bit of time, and I thought, well, they're going to drop him now. They're going to drop him now, but this is not really happening.
Yeah, Marvin and Sven really getting caught up. I think Florian just in the pits, yes, he is. getting caught up in their fight, also losing a lot of time out of the hairpin, for example, because you have to accelerate in a different way. Now Marvin on the outside. Yeah, you can see what I mean, like Sven keeps it to the inside and Marvin having to go around the outside. And this allows Feldhard to just be in the slipstream window. Meanwhile, Rokus to be...
Ooh, there was a bit of contact as well, wasn't there? Master Löcken? Or maybe he was just avoiding him.
Master Löcken and Rokusubi.
This race is not going according to plan for Rokus.
Seems like just now Mackenberg's drop off. In this last sector, Feldhard can make up a lot of ground.
But this time they are not really battling so hard. And I think they both know that the decision who's going to win this race will probably come later, unless someone makes a mistake. But they don't have to go so hard early on. They will go side by side, but I don't think they will fight as hard that, you know, like they would make contact or something like this.
Yeah, also not risking the suspension damage, as we've seen with Florian, who's now driving again. But yeah, it's not that easy to race at times in those cars. You really have to make decisions earlier to see who you want to fight and who not, because you might lose a lot of time and you can't get away from people because of the big slipstream effect in those cars. So even a slower driver can easily keep up, while Mackenberg's going side by side yet again.
And lots of respect between them there. You can see there's always a bit of a gap between the cars. It's Marvin. He's in the lead now, but there's the cutback from Sven. That was a nice move. He has the inside now, and I think this should be good enough. But he can never really take the ideal line, and that's what's costing him time. That's why... Oh, there's Hendrik there. Almost losing it. Pushing very hard. And both Hendrik and Radoslav, they know if they drive clean right now, they can close the gap. They can maybe have a word in the discussion who's going to win the race today.
Yeah, and also they're fighting for the last podium position.
Yes, but I think for them it's smart now not to fight each other. I think they should work together and try to close these two there at the front.
Yeah, definitely. So for both of them, and also for Friedrich, who also keeps up with the leaders, there's still a lot of opportunity. Let's see, what will they do in the back? Will Marvin yet attack yet again? And will Henrik Andreasen launch an attack?
Sven is defending this time on the inside.
Hendrik having a look on the
inside. Hendrik is attacking as well. I'm surprised about that. Because if they... Oh, very early on the power there, Sven. Marvin takes the lead. I think Hendrik and Radoslav, they should not fight. They should work together here. See if something, you know, is possible. The leaders, because leaders are fighting hard. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to go into a big fight now, because then you will also lose the same amount of time or even more. And Mateusz Friedrich, after his small mistake early on in the race, still sitting comfortably in 5th position. Then we've got the big gap, because everyone else has been in some sort of trouble already in this race. Henrik Andreasen with a very good debut, it has to be said. Yeah, I think they are still all in the slipstream there. Radoslav should still get the slipstream from the Mackenbergs, and let's see if they go side by side once again. This time Marvin has a bit of a gap. They're not going side by side. Sven is not trying to stay in the slipstream. Perhaps they are starting to work together now to get a gap. Because as you can see, Radoslav got pretty close to them. And this braking zone for the hairpin is just such a such a traffic jam sometimes when the cars slow down in front. Ooh, we've got a fight here for P6 as well. Rokus DB just went past Marcel Löcken, but it's not done yet. Rokus should have a little bit more pace, but we've seen the mistakes from him today. Oh, and once again, gets a wiggle, goes wide. Marcel has the inside line, should take the position. Maybe cutback opportunity here. Yes, indeed. Oh, both of them a bit in the grass, and Rokus is back in P6. Just shows how difficult these cars are to drive, because we've seen Rokus to be in plenty of ranked races. Winner at Red Bull Ring, for example, in GT4 a while ago.
In the BMW. The absolute underdog car.
Yeah, so he's a very capable driver.
Yeah, also in Season 1.
But these Formula 3 cars, they can be a different challenge.
They are challenging, but I also feel like they are really leveling the playing field, as we see many different names on top. So might just be also more track dependent, because the car has its characteristics different basically on which track you drive. So if it's a more flowing track, drivers who like cars with downforce are more gonna like it. If it's something with sharper turns and harder acceleration zones, people who drive usually something without traction control might just like it. Meanwhile, Henrik Andreasen fighting Felder. Meanwhile, also Marvin Mackenberg got past Sven. Marcel Löcken and Rokus DB also fighting.
Yes, I think we've seen now that it's a two-man race for the victory once again. Sven and Marvin have gapped Radoslav here, and now I think now it makes sense for Hendrik to go for the position, because they're not able to keep the pace throughout the whole stint. And let's see if Hendrik can get past Radoslav somewhere. Radoslav has been very good at defending his position. We've seen it at the end of the first race. So he's done a very good job here. And Hendrik looks very solid, but I'm not sure if he really... I mean, it will get a bit easier for him now that Radoslav also doesn't have a slipstream anymore, but still, I'm not convinced yet. At the front, meanwhile, Marvin Mackenberg ahead of Sven. And if Sven wins again, this might really allow him back into the championship fight. He beats his brother here in both races. Has the inside now. Let's see on the braking. He's not going for it just yet. Well, kind of sticking his nose in. Radoslav, meanwhile, still maintains his third place in the background. And Marcel also can't make a move. He's also very wild there on the exit. Nice camera shot here on the front wing of Henrik Andreasen. Makes a completely different line on the run-up for the entry of the Motodrome. And Mateusz Friedrich, just like in the first race, he's just watching here. Waiting for his opportunity. All laps to go meanwhile. And Sven Mackenberg still staying with Marvin. Oh, and I think that was a mistake there in the background from Henrik. Maybe he has suspension damage. Looked very shaky coming out of the corner. Mateusz there with the wide line. It still looks good. Definitely lost some ground. Radoslav can't relax much because he will be right there again at the end of the straight. Let's see if Sven is going for the move now at the lead. Yes, indeed he is. Going for the inside. Marvin is giving him room, but Sven is through. Better run for Marvin. He only gets the right side line here. Inside for this corner. It doesn't help much because it's the outside for the next one. Then clips the curve a little bit. Means Marvin is still there. Now Marvin is ahead of all of a sudden, but Sven has to run on the outside. You can see the respect there, giving each other plenty of space. And Sven is through. Sven is in the lead of the race. Focus to B, meanwhile, still keeping his place ahead of Marcel Löcken. They are pushing very hard. Lot of movement in the cars. So Lino, if you're in this position here a little bit further back, do you risk everything for P6? For, you know, those extra points? I think it's 2 points more, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's dependent on where you are in the standings. Obviously, if you are in the championship fight, you might rather take safe points instead of risking it. But I mean, to be fair, Marcel Löcken, even though there is still a chance, like there's always the chance in the beginning of the season, he probably knows that he can't get within the window of Sven or Marvin Mackenberg. And he just wants to have fun, and that's why we want to race in the end. Meanwhile, Marvin Mackenberg doing a great move on Sven Mackenberg.
Yeah, we also seen Andreasen in the background.
Andreasen felt it.
Same situation here. And it's not a lot of time still to go in this race. Ooh, bit of contact there. Andreasen up to P3 and Marvin up into the lead.
But those are still side by side. Going side by side into the Motodrome. And we've got
Sven has the inside again. Oh, and we've got Marcel off the track there in the background. He's rejoining, but he's behind Bolscha now. Sven is in the lead.
And also the train behind them now closed in again. So Henrik Andreasen.
Yes, and I'm not sure if Henrik Andreasen... Oh, do we see a move into turn 1 there from Mateusz? Oh, I think this might actually work. This is a brave attempt, not a place where we usually see an overtake. But Mateusz, he's a bit ahead. And yeah, it worked indeed. Up to P4.
This also relieves Henrik of some pressure, as he has another car behind him with Slipstream. And he might just be able to focus on the Mackenbergs. And Henrik Andreasen also is a pretty rapid driver. So also he came from way back into the races today. Oh, and talking about it, he just loses a bit of control there.
Yeah, that's the commentator's curse in effect. Henrik Andreasen there, a bit too early on the power. Losing his chance to get the victory in this race, probably. Piatkowski and Friedrich still side by side. That's Friedrich ahead now. Or Friedrich, I should say. But this is also far from over. And this is the penultimate lap that we are on right now. Marcel Löcken trying to regain some places behind Boldisha Veseginoc now, but not for long, because that was another mistake. And Marcel is through. Piatkowski looking for an opportunity. I think he will get it though on the long straight.
Can also see the car sliding a lot now.
Yeah, now it's really the moment where you just try to get the last bit out of your tires. Final lap has started now. Let's see how the slipstream battle is decided. And I think we have to watch the slipstream there at the front. Sven has got a bit of a gap to Marvin, but that gap will evaporate once they come down the straight. And I'm pretty sure that Marvin will go for an attempt. But that's pretty far. Is he really going to get into a position where he can try it?
Maybe he will also try it into the Mercedes arena.
They're already in the braking zone now. That's not close enough. Does he get a good run? So Radoslav not quite close enough. Marvin still all over the back of Sven. Marcel and Boldisha are still fighting. Should be the place of Boldisha, but let's see now with the leaders here. Does Marvin Mackenberg get another chance, or will it be 2 victories for Sven at the Hockenheim ring? coming into the Motodrome. Not a lot of opportunities left. Looks likely that it could be it. Looks likely that it could be this victory for Sven again. Does Radoslav Kwiatkowski try anything? He's not quite close enough either. Marvin Mackenberg, one more corner coming up, but he's not close enough, so this will be another victory for Sven Mackenberg as he exits the final corner, comes across the line. Congratulations to Sven. What a great race once again. And also in P3, Henrik Andreasen. Just looking back here a little bit at Marcel Löcken, he also tried everything to get back past Boldischer, but he didn't get an opportunity in the end. So we've got Sven Mackenberg winning the race ahead of Marvin Mackenberg, then Henrik Andreasen in P3, very strong F3 debut. Mateusz Friedrich in P4 after a stunning move in the first corner at Hockenheim, ahead of Radoslav Kwiatkowski. And Rokus Deby, after an event with a lot of small problems, some spins, I think he will be happy with P6 in the end. Boldischer, Vesegi Notch coming home in P7 ahead of Marcel Löcken. Then it should be Rui Carvalho. I think he's still on his lap. But he's got a big gap to Florian Arendt. Got a bit smaller throughout the race, has to be said. But he should be able to bring it home.
Yeah, obviously we'll examine what happened after the race. But so far it looks like most of the incidents were due to driver error, just being too early on the throttle or something like it. But we've seen some great battles all over the grid, and as I couldn't do it before the race, those are the standings after race 1. And you can see Sven Mackenberg and Yuval Rosen equal on points. This will obviously change after this race now. But still, again, pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty close indeed. And we just saw that Marvin Mackenberg stole the fastest lap on the final lap from Sven again. So there's this battle for the fastest lap as well. But of course, the victories today go to Sven, so congratulations once again to him. And I think he really re-established himself in this championship fight. We will see how it goes next time out in Spa.
Just adding the results so we can look at the points, or at least I can tell you.
Yeah, meanwhile, we can perhaps also talk about the driver of the event. And I think this is it's easy on paper because Sven Mackenberg won both races, but there's also perhaps a case to be made for Henrik Andreasen coming into this championship and having such a debut.
Definitely. So I can't access the results right now, but yeah, obviously a lot has changed during this race. And I think it was a lot of fun seeing those races pan out. And yeah, just hope I had it right now. So currently in the lead of the championship, Marvin Mackenberg with 79 points and Sven Mackenberg with 68 points. So 11 points between those. So this is like not that much if you see that there are still 8 races to go. Then quite a big gap to Yuval Rosen, obviously, to first off Feldhardt with 49 points and then Yuval Rosen with 43 points. So those two have to make up some more ground, but still, everything is possible. Then we've got Nagy, who really dropped during this. He just hadn't had the most luck, didn't he?
No, this was pretty much an event to forget for him. But still, he finished both races. He gained some places in the end of the second race as well. So perhaps it will go better for him at Spa or at his home race at the Hungaroring, which will be coming up afterwards.
Yeah. Then Mateusz Friedrich, who made up a lot of points, more than doubled his point scores, just in one race. 2 fourth place finishes, 34 points now, up into 6th in the championship. Great results by him. Henrik Andreasen jumping into the competition, immediately being on 25 points, also not bad. And then Florian Arendt, one decent race, one with where he was pretty unlucky or just did a mistake. We don't know yet. Marcel looking pretty much the same. And looks to be two, I think, 6th place finishes, sorry. On 18 points, Florian on 17, Marcel also on 16. So, might want to improve on that, but still decent start into the season for him, I guess. So I'm excited for Spa next week.
Yes, so the next race is on the calendar on the 11th of May. It will be Spa-Francorchamps, 2 times 10 laps. Of course, it's a very long circuit, it's a very spectacular circuit, and one that we don't see too often in the F3 cars. So it will be very exciting. Then we've got Hungaroring on the 25th. Then 8th of June, it's Assen, one of the most recent additions to Race Room. And then the season final on the 22nd of June will be at Spielberg, so also known as the Red Bull Ring. So plenty of exciting racing coming up in KCG. There was a question, when will we see me again on the track? Well, let's see. I think perhaps if there's something happening with TCR cars, it could be a possibility for sure.
So you guys know which cars we will use for Season 4 then?
Either way, I enjoyed it very much to commentate on a race again. It's been a while, it's been almost half a year for me since I have commentated on a race, so it was great to do this with you, Lino. Thanks for the opportunity, and I think we saw a great race today. It really shows what only 10 cars can do, you know, in terms of racing, what kind of racing they can produce, especially in the first race. It was just spectacular to watch. Thanks to all the drivers, thanks to all the spectators who watched here as well. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, also from my side, thanks to Robert for commentating. I couldn't have made it through the day, I'm completely honest. Maybe, if you want to, you can always come back to us. So, yeah, then I'd say we will see you next week. Have a great time until then. See you then. Goodbye.